Hi and welcome back for another CottageCutz YouTube video tutorial and giveaway. This card features the new Patriotic release available in the Scrap and Cottage. This is Marla with Mad About Cards and Crafts, and I'm so glad you're joining me today. Here's a look at the products we're using. I have the Pinking Sheer Edge Slimline die, the U.S.A flag. I'll be using the Patriotic Eagle with top hat, and the Happy 4th of July phrase. Let's jump into the project. I've die cut my pieces from Accent Opaque cardstock. I believe this is my 80-pound cardstock, and I'm going to just do some simple ink blending. This Candy Apple Red is super juicy, so you're going to see that I'm going to get a lot of ink on these die cuts right here. I wanted to have some of the letters be red and some of the letters blue. So I have started with the word happy and then added that candy apple red to the word of. Now we're going to take priced ribbon and finish off the phrase with 4th and July. I want this to stand out on my card. You do know that I like to add dimension, so a lot of times I'll stack my dies 3 times. In this case, I am only going to stack it 2 times, but I wanted to bring in that white into the sentiment to help the sentiment kind of pop off the page. I'm going to do a little bit of offsetting, so I did die cut this a second time, again from that 80-pound Accent Opaque cardstock, and we are going to start doing that offsetting in just a moment. First, I wanted to remind you that we do offer a giveaway every time that we do upload a new video. This week's giveaway is going to be the Patriotic Eagle with top hat, and all you need to do to qualify is make sure that you like this video, are a current subscriber, and leave a comment in the comment section. You do need to be have a U.S. mailing address in order to qualify for the giveaway due to the expense of mailing packages outside of the country. So if you have a U.S. mailing address, follow those rules and you will be entered. I will announce the winner of that giveaway in my next video. So I have started with the word July. You can see that I am adding the top layer, which is the blue, to the bottom right, and that will give me that little bit of a white shadow. I'm going to do the same with the word of, and then of course with the happy, and that will create a nice dimension, and it also brings that pop into it. So we do have the red, white, and blue, which is obviously patriotic for the United States or England, but in this case for the United States, we will have the 4th of July coming up in just another week. Holy cow, where is all of this time going? I don't know. It seems like once 4th of July comes, in the blink of an eye, summer's over. But we have just now started heating up here in Nevada. It's been, for us, a pretty mild spring and early summer. And so we are now moving into the heat of the summer with the pool time going in full swing. So I don't know what your 4th of July plans are, but I hope that they are filled with good weather, no rain or wind or any of these terrible storms that are going on, and that you can enjoy if you do celebrate with your family. So here is a look at the Patriotic Eagle. I'm starting with some antique linen, adding that to his head. I did leave some white space, and then adding some to the tail feather. That little body looks like a turkey, doesn't it? When I first cut it, I thought, oh my goodness, this looks like a Thanksgiving turkey. So just a little idea to maybe repurpose that. I'll start with some gathered twigs and add a nice coating of the gathered twigs over the body, and then I'll take a small blending brush and I want to really add some dimension to that piece with some ground espresso. So I'll go around the outer edge, and I'll also lift up that natural cut that is in that die cut where the leg is, and I'm going to add a little bit so it makes that ink blending in those areas, adding some ink around the legs a lot easier having it cut there with that slit. Once I get this on, I'm going to use, I want to say I used carved pumpkin. I really can't see on screen which one it is, but one of the oranges from the Distress ink, you'll see it on screen, and I'm going to add it to the feet or the talons and then to the beak of the bird. I'll use a micron pen. This is a Copic friendly micron pen to color up the eyeballs, and then off camera I did use a white gel pen and added a little white dot just to finish off the eyes. I believe I assembled the eyes off camera. There are two different pieces for the eyes. One is going to be the whites of the eyes, and then of course you have the pupil, and that's going to add that expression to my eagle. If you watched my last video here, I was giving away the U.S.A Phrase, and for that video I wanted to congratulate Denise Bryant. You are the lucky winner of the U.S.A Phrase. I will have Mary Marsh's information linked in the description box below. All you need to do is send her an email, let her know that you are the lucky winner, and she will make sure that she gets that mailed out to you. So again, congratulations, Denise. I'm going to do a little bit of the assembly for the bird. I'm just going to add the head, the tail feathers, and then I'll add the talons to the bottom. I'll move on to the hat. And for the hat, I'm going to use those same red and blue colors. So throughout, the reds are going to be the Candy Apple Distress ink, and then the blues are going to be the Prized Ribbon. I thought that since my last video, I went a little bit more with the deeper tones, with the navies and the burgundies, that I would use a brighter red and blue on this card to give it a little bit of a different look. All right, so for the top layer, I'm adding that red, and then I'm going to layer it on top of the solid top hat. There's a little band that's going to go around the edge, and I'll use that Prized Ribbon. Once I glue this together, there are some little pieces that came out. You can see the kind of rectangles. You can leave it just by laying it over like this, but I like the additional dimension, so I'm going to add the inlaid pieces. I'm going to inlay them back in, and then I'll put the band around the edge. At the very end of this video, I will go back and add the stars. I did leave them off. In fact, I should say that eventually I lost them on my desk. I don't know about you, but when I'm creating, it seems like my desk is always full and little pieces tend to get lost, so I just ran it through the die cutting machine again. I wanted to mention, I didn't mention it in my last video, but I did want to mention that this release is a little bit different. This and the folk art release are a little bit different. The die cuts are individual die cuts with the tie rods in between that you just use wire cutters to cut through. Usually cottage cut dies are cut with a solid plate, but the last two releases have been with the tie rods, so it separates each of the pieces, and you can just cut as many of each piece as you would like, as opposed to cutting the full die cut or trying to piece pieces of cardstock around different areas of the solid plate. I'm doing this flag a little bit backwards. So the packaging shows that the flag that you see in the upper, above the eyeballs, just that little piece of flag, that is what's supposed to be red, and then these inlaid pieces are supposed to be white. I did mine backwards. It looks fine. I don't think anyone's going to notice that it isn't red, white, and blue, but it's white, red, white, red. I'm using again that Prized Ribbon for the corner section of the flag, and then there's a solid piece of flag that we are going to glue these all together on. So I wasn't quite sure how it went together at first. You really need to put the stars on first, I think. I just think that it aligns a little bit better. So I'm going to start by putting the stripes on, and then I'll go to put the stars on and realize that I need to lift that up and move it because it's not fitting properly. It's just not aligning the way that I want it to. So the stars would be hanging over, and I wanted to make sure, rather than having to inlay all of those stars, I wanted to make sure that all of those stars were aligned with that background so that the white showed through on the stars. Once I get this aligned, I am going to start inlaying my pieces. I want to preface, I did mention earlier that my candy apple red was super juicy, and what ended up happening on this card was when I used my tweezers to pick up each of the pieces, even though I had set these aside for a while, they were still pretty wet, and some of that red transferred to the tweezers. And I do have some small areas where it transferred onto the white. For me, it's not a big deal. I'm not a big perfectionist where things have to be, perfect, or I'm not going to send it out. I would still send this out. But if you don't want that to happen, red is one of those colors that seems to get everywhere. And so you could certainly use red cardstock, maybe color with some red Copic markers. In this case, because the ink pad was just a little bit juicier than I anticipated, and I wanted to keep the colors really cohesive and not start all over again with a different technique, instead of ink blending, I just went with it and left those imperfections there. I'm going to add the eyes to my eagle. Isn't he absolutely adorable? You can keep the top hat off and use him, as a wildlife bird. So he is not just for the 4th of July or Independence Day. I think he could be used in other types of cards if you like maybe if you put him in a scene where you had pine trees and mountains, I think that would be really cute. You can see that I don't have those stars as I had mentioned earlier, but we will put those on in just a few minutes. This is that pinking sheer die, and I know I'm going to cut it out of white cardstock, but I wanted to align the images the way that I wanted them on my card, and I'm going to use some press and seal over the top. Now, the reason that I did it over the die was because I thought that it would be easier for me to lift these up. My press and seal is pretty darn old. I would guess that it's probably 10 or more years old. So it's not quite as sticky as it used to be, but if I did this on the white cardstock, I just thought maybe it would pick it up a little bit more. So now I've die cut it, and I'm going to add glue to the back of my die cuts. Because I have the eagle on top of the flag, I am going to need to add a little bit of foam tape to the back of the hat just so that he lays flat. And I'm going to align this. Now I use art glitter glue, and art glitter glue dries clear, so you are not going to see if any of that glue smeared onto that pinking sheer slimline. You're not really going to see that. I'm going to straighten out some of the pieces that kind of moved. As I mentioned, the press and seal is just a little bit old. I live in southern Nevada where it gets really warm, and it's very dry, and so it just lost a little bit of its stick, not quite as sticky as it probably once was. Here's where I'm going to take one of those 1/8 inch pieces of foam tape, and I'm just going to lift up where the hat is, add my piece of foam tape, trim it down, add another piece, and then I'll remove the backing, and it will sit nicely over that flag. And there we go. All right, so now I'm going to add on that happy, and then we're going to assemble the panel onto our card base. I believe my finished card is 8.5 by 3.5 inches, so I did off-screen create a card panel side folding to be able to fit these pieces on. I cut a piece of red cardstock to 8.5 by 3.5 inches, and then this pinking shear with all of the patriotic embellishments is going to go over the top of that, and we'll have a little bit of a border so that that red shows through. And once this is glued down, I'll finish off the card by adding those little tiny stars to the brim of, or to the band of, the eagle's hat, and we are finished. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that all of you that celebrate have a happy and healthy 4th of July celebration with your families. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day. Thanks for watching.